The iconic blue and yellow GMA set is glowing under studio lights. The live audience is clapping as the camera pans to George Stephanopoulos seated across from Michael B. Jordan, who's promoting his latest politically charged drama film, Legacy in Fire. Michael, dressed in a charcoal gray suit with a subtle black on black shirt, offers a charming smile. But his eyes are focused, aware. George adjusts his cue cards, his practiced smile unchanged, but just slightly colder than usual. George, cheerfully, we're here with actor, director, and producer Michael B. Jordan, whose new film Legacy in Fire is already being called one of the boldest releases of the year. Michael, welcome back to the show. Michael, nodding politely, appreciate it, George, good to be here. You know, people are saying this is your most controversial project yet. A lot of heavy themes, systemic injustice, political corruption. Did you set out to stir the pot? Michael's smile tightens. He glances toward the audience, then back at George. I set out to tell the truth. If the truth stirs the pot, maybe the pot needed stirring. A murmur of agreement ripples through the audience. George lets out a short laugh, forced. Well, the truth can be a tricky thing these days. Don't you worry, it might alienate certain viewers who are just looking for a good time at the movies. Michael shifts in his chair, now clearly engaged. I think people are capable of more than we give them credit for. We've been fed the same stories for decades, safe, comfortable, shallow. Sometimes discomfort is the beginning of understanding. George's eyebrows lift, intrigued but slightly wary. George, still, there's a segment of the audience, and even a few critics, saying you've crossed the line from entertainment into activism. Calm, but pointed. Art is activism, George. It always has been. When it's honest. The audience applauds again, this time louder. Michael leans forward slightly, voice firmer now. People forget that movies like Do the Right Thing or Philadelphia, they weren't just entertainment. They meant something. If my work doesn't say something, I'm wasting everyone's time. George's smile begins to falter. He glances off camera, likely to his producer. Something has shifted in the air. George, coolly. Fair point, though some might say you're being a little confrontational. Without blinking, I prefer direct, and I'd rather be direct than complicit. A long pause. For a moment, the air seems to thin. The audience sits in quiet anticipation. George, half smiling. Well, we're just getting started. Michael leans back, his body relaxed, but his eyes laser-focused. So am I. The camera slowly zooms out, cutting to a smiling Robin Roberts at the news desk, as cheerful music fades in, but the tension between George and Michael lingers like static electricity in the studio. The bright lights glare overhead. The studio audience is attentive, sensing something off. George Stephanopoulos, no longer smiling, picks up another cue card. Michael B. Jordan rests one ankle over his knee, arms crossed now, not defensive, but braced. George, measured. Michael, I'd like to pivot to a recent Hollywood Journal article quoting several anonymous crew members who describe you as, quote, intense, controlling, and emotionally reactive. How do you respond to that? A hush falls over the audience. Michael looks directly at George, unflinching. The tension snaps taut. Michael, carefully. First off, it's always interesting how anonymous voices get more credibility than the ones doing the real work. Secondly, I'm not here to be liked, I'm here to lead. George, still calm. But would you say the environment on set is one of fear? Because that's the implication. Michael slowly lowers his foot to the floor and leans forward. Michael, low but firm. You're crossing a line now, George. I know exactly what this is. George, raising an eyebrow. And what is that? This is the old narrative. Black man in power must be aggressive, or difficult. Never passionate, never driven, just a problem. Gasps. Scattered applause. The camera angle shifts, catching a crew member signaling frantically to the control booth. A producer speaks hurriedly into a headset off stage. George, pressing on. But if those on set feel uncomfortable, doesn't that matter? Of course it matters. What also matters is who's telling the story and why. I've worked 20 years to get in a position to protect my team, especially young black artists. You think I'd risk that for ego? George opens his mouth to respond but hesitates. Michael stares him down. Let's not pretend this is journalism. You're trying to make headlines. You brought up anonymous rumors on live TV instead of asking about the film or the message behind it. The audience claps louder now, mixed with some awkward laughter and gasps. The atmosphere is on edge. George, strained. I'm doing my job, Michael. Michael, voice ice cold. No, you're doing your network's job. And I see right through it. A moment of silence. The segment producer makes a quick hand gesture. The screen flashes the going to break graphic. Music swells. George, forced smile to camera. We'll be right back after this. Michael doesn't even glance at the camera. His eyes stay locked on George. Fade to black. The upbeat theme music fades under the dimmed studio lights. On screen, a colorful graphic reads, GMA will return shortly. But off screen, the temperature drops. George Stephanopoulos straightens his cards without looking up. Michael B. Jordan rips off his lapel mic, the velcro tearing like a firecracker in the quiet. Michael, furious but composed. You tried it, George. Live TV ambush. Cute. George finally looks up, his mask slipping. His face tightens with restrained irritation. It was a fair question. You're in the public eye. Don't expect softballs. Michael, stepping toward him. I expect respect. What you did wasn't journalism, it was bait. You didn't ask about the message of the movie, the performances, the communities we represented. Just gossip and labels. George, defensive, voice rising slightly. We cover all sides, Michael. You don't get to dictate the interview just because you're the guest. Right, because God forbid a black man with power doesn't smile through the landmines. The segment producer, early 30s, earpiece in one ear, approaches rapidly. Producer quietly to George. We're cutting the next segment. Execs say we're done with him. Walk it off clean. George nods slightly. The producer then gently tugs at Michael's elbow, trying to be subtle. Producer to Michael. We're going to take you out through the side entrance. There's too much heat right now. Michael, ignoring him. You know what's wild. I came here to promote a film about justice and truth. And here I am, being handled like I'm the threat. He stares down George. The crew is dead silent. Camera operators avoid eye contact. The audience has been hushed and redirected toward the lobby during the break. George, flatly. Maybe if you had more control of your temper. Michael, cutting him off, firm. Don't try to flip it. I've had to be 10 times calmer than you just to sit in that chair. And I still get painted as hostile. 2 security guards now stand subtly at the edge of the set. Michael notices them, shakes his head in disbelief, and picks up his blazer from the back of his chair. Michael, to the room. You all saw that. Remember who made the scene, and who got painted as the scene. He walks past the producer, the security team, and out through the back of the set without a backward glance. Control room. Moments later. Monitors show social media feeds lighting up. Tweets roll in like a tidal wave. Greater than, Michael B. Jordan just schooled GMA on live TV. Why is George still allowed to do these kinds of interviews? Black excellence doesn't mean silence. Respect to MBJ. A junior producer looks at the screen, stunned. Junior producer, softly. This is gonna blow up. Midtown Manhattan.